So actually, we as a consumer, we don't
Are you
really
aware of the
realize.
average fee per unit?
All of you are kings and queens in your own home with your own throne that you can sit up and decide and let the business continue to woo you.
Welcome to another edition of Consumer Voice, the platform that tells you all about your rights as a consumer and how to enforce them whenever you feel they have been breached. Think about it. Many of us go shopping, whether it's daily, weekly, or even monthly, taking it for granted that we are getting the best service. But what we may not realize is that it involves a lot of consumer rights. So today, we'll be looking at two main issues relating to shopping behaviors based on international best practice that you as a consumer should be aware of. First, the basic rights of the consumer in this respect. Secondly, the role of the CPC in addition to some shopping tips. Always remember that you are the king and queen of the consumer world. Here at CPC, we shall continue to educate you on those royalty rights. On this note, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll go straight to the discussion segment with my colleague, Eme Ojugo. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the interview segment. As you've heard earlier, we're discussing shopping habits of consumers. Many consumers do not realize that certain habits make or mar their shopping experiences, and certain things need to be taken into consideration in order to get value for money. Today, we will be discussing two aspects of this topic: shopping rights and shopping tips. With me in the studio is Mrs. Omago Unwachiko, who is an Assistant Chief Surveillance and Enforcement Officer who will educate consumers on the rights available to them while shopping. Welcome to the program, Mrs. Nwachiko.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
We all go shopping, and basically we assume we know everything about it. But from the CPC's perspective, what are the rights available to us as consumers? I want you to use this platform to educate us as consumers.
Basically, the consumer has 8 rights. These rights were set internationally, and these rights are the right to satisfaction of basic needs, the right to safety, the right to information, the right to choice, the right to redress, and then the right to a healthy environment, the right to education, and then the right to representation. So all these are the consumer's rights. And if the consumer knows about it, he's in a better position to ensure that nobody stops him from getting them.
Okay. So we have 8 rights. Okay, so we received this complaint from a consumer in Jebba. Of course, the CPC resolved it. Okay. But I want you to use it to explain these rights.
Okay.
Mr. James goes to a shop. He wants to buy a suit for his 11-year-old son. And the suit he's given has no label on it, so really he doesn't know the size that he's given. And they tell him it's off-white, even though he wanted white. But when you look at it, it's really beige. But he goes home, he buys it and goes home. On getting home, unfortunately, his son isn't around. So 3 days later, he comes back and he's like, "Daddy, this is not what I was asked to bring in school," and all of that. And he goes back to the shop. And the shop is reluctant was reluctant until CPC stepped in. Okay. What rights were breached by the store? Yeah.
Okay. A number of them. First, his right to information. When he went into the store, there was a particular size of suit he needed.
Yes.
Normally, products should be labeled for consumers to read and know what it's all about. If you want to buy anything, you have a right to know what are the components of that thing, for instance, where applicable, how to use it, and all that. In this particular case, he needed to know the size, but unfortunately it wasn't there, and so his right to information was breached. Also, his right to choice too was infringed somewhere. He wanted a white shirt.
Yes.
And right to choice is something that subtly consumers don't know that their rights are being infringed on. For instance, you want to buy white, you know what you want, white, and then the attendants pressurize you. It's white, it's white, it's off-white, it's the same thing, it's the same thing. So it's on the consumer now to insist. You should think independently, hear what they have to say, but go for what you want. So that's an example of how our rights to choice are being infringed on every day. Sometimes it's through adverts. They use undue pressure. One thing I noticed is the use of children. They use children in so many adverts, and then the intent is to get your children to pressurize the mommies and daddies to go for those products. But the parents have to, you know, sit down and do their own homework and make an independent choice. So your right to choice is not infringed on by undue influences. But since he should have taken this precaution, since he didn't know the size, he would have told them, I don't know the size. Get their commitment.
No, but he told them he was an 11-year-old child. They're almost all the same.
No, that's right. But I mean commitment in terms of I may have to come back.
Okay.
If I take this home, my son is not here. If I take it home and it doesn't fit,
Okay.
can I return it? Get a commitment from them. It may not be written. It may be, what's your name? Or the attendant, what's your name? Can I have your phone number or something? So when he gets home and then it doesn't fit, then he can confidently come back to the shop and say and tell them. And so finally his right to redress was infringed on. And normally for any responsible business outfit, when you receive consumer complaints, you need to look at them. If it holds, if it's authentic, if it's genuine, it's your duty as a business to address the situation. So he didn't get his own, and that was why he had to go back to the next line of action, fall on the CPC. But for a responsible business, you're not supposed to let it get to the CPC. Look at the issues. He has told you about it, and you know it's your product. It's not perishable. Okay. It's not something that he has spoiled. It's
so
just
really
a place
should have just taken it back without any
Exactly.
problems. Okay, you've mentioned 8 rights. Which of these rights can you say is the most important, or which of them is?
Well, I wouldn't say any of them is more important than the other.
Okay.
They are all important. It's just that they come into play at different circumstances and situations, but they are all equally important.
Thank you, Mrs. Nwachukwu, for coming on the program. It's been such a delight having you here. We hope to see you again sometime.
Thank you for having me.
Dear viewers, you've heard your rights. I will run through them again. You have the right to safety, right to be informed, right to choose, right to redress, right to satisfaction of basic needs, right to a healthy environment, right to be heard, and right to consumer education. Wherever you go shopping, remember you are the kings and queens of the shopping world, and without you, manufacturers and sellers will be out of business. But don't go anywhere. When we come back, we will speak to another expert who will tell us 2 things: shopping tips that you need to be aware of, and the role of CPC. What will CPC do to assist you whenever your rights have been breached? Stay tuned.